Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Plot Lines. I'm your host, Connor, and today we have the fight of the century. It's not really a fight of the century, it's more like the banal conversation of the millennial. We have Margo of the Ages, also known as Mostly Calm Margo, which it will be interesting to see if she can manage to be calm, which if you're betting, it's unlikely. And then we have Supreme Crusader returning again, which I just repeated myself. Welcome, Supreme Crusader, back.
How you doing, everybody?
Hey.
Yes, the episode Margo versus Supreme Crusader, or Supreme Crusader versus Margo. I don't remember how I titled it, but
No, I'm first because I'm a man.
oh, that makes so much sense. The shots fired right away.
Yep.
Margo, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. How are you, Kano?
Good. I've heard there's been a controversy.
Ooh, what's that?
You don't like puns.
No, I do not. I'm very anti-puns. I think they should be illegal and banned, and people who use them should be imprisoned for at least 10 years. Maybe death penalty. I don't know. We'll see how extreme I'm feeling.
Oh, by the way, Jeff responded. He was like, yeah, I probably can't right now, but if you guys are still streaming in like half an hour, I might drop by. So,
Oh, no, not Jeff.
That will be a lot of fun.
Ugh.
that would
Did
be
you
like,
say a half an hour? We'll be definitely going half an hour.
well,
Oh,
I mean,
no.
he's doing family stuff, so yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we may have the Supreme Pontiff on his way. You never know. But Supreme Crusader, do you have a response to Margot's intolerance?
I mean, not everybody has a sense of humor. It's,
Are you saying Margo doesn't have a sense of humor?
I mean, has anyone who know her ever heard her made a joke or even a good one?
Oh, what now? What is this?
I
make
mean,
plenty of jokes, and I like the more like sarcastic, dry sense of humor. That's kind of more my thing. Puns are just the lowest form of humor. They're just so obvious, and they're just so like they're too easy. They're not even funny. It's just like
no,
think of
what are
something
you
else.
talking about?
Hate.
Puns have lots of creativity and it requires quick wit. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of I'm not like a terribly huge fan, but I can at least appreciate the cleverness of puns.
Yes, I will imprison Dan in a penitentiary. A penitentiary. Not whatever he's saying.
Penitentiary.
Oh, I missed that last one. Oh, okay.
Unbearable.
Unbearable.
Alex. I don't know what is with guys and puns. It must just be a guy. I think this must just be one of the differences between men and women, where like men and all like obsessed with puns. They have a weird obsession with them, and females, we just have a higher sense of humor. We just are we're just classier, I guess, and we just have a more refined sense of humor.
No, it's all just to annoy you.
If there are women in the chat, let me know if you like puns. If you don't like puns, also.
I don't think there's any other woman in the chat right now. I think it's all guys.
Well, there might be. There's 9 people watching, and not 9 people in chat right now. So, anyways, now there seems to be a divide. Margo is anti puns, and Supreme Crusader is lightly defending it, not so much, not full-throatedly defending it. Is that correct, Supreme Crusader?
Yes.
Now, we were talking about previously the Daily Wire, and
what's that?
What? Yeah, what is that? So, Margo, your favorite Daily Wire host obviously is Michael Knowles.
Michael Knowles. I don't know. The name kind of rings a bell. Maybe. What is he? Is he that like Italian Catholic guy or something?
Well, tell us how you came across Michael Knowles' content.
So originally, that was way back in 2017. I originally found Daily Wire because Andrew Clavin was on another podcast of a friend, Patrick Coffin, way back in 2017. So I discovered Andrew Clavin and discovered the Daily Wire, and then discovered Michael Knowles, and I was like, wait, this is a really young, good-looking Catholic commentator. I was pretty much instantly hooked, and then got to know him just through Twitter, because back then the Daily Wire fan base was really small, so it was a lot easier to get to know the Daily Wire guys back in the day. So got to know him over the years, and I finally met him in person finally in October of 2021 for the Daily Wire Backstage event, and I was blessed enough to be able to visit the studios the day before with a friend. So I got to see him then, and I saw him again in July of 2022 for Backstage Live again. And again, got to go to the studios and eat lunch with Michael and Jeremy Boying and some other Daily Wire fan friends. And then this past April of 2023, I went to Pittsburgh, where Michael did a really fiery debate about transgender. I mean, the thing that you're not allowed to talk about on YouTube. I don't want to say it because I don't want to get Connor. I don't want to kill Connor's channel, but
we get it
about gender that YouTube hates. So he did a fiery debate in Pittsburgh. Where he was burned in effigy, and then the next day somehow I was able to get cigars with him at a cigar shop with some other fan friends. So that was fun. And yeah, we've just been really good friends over the years. Just gotten to know each other through Twitter and through the All Access live streams on Daily Wire. So,
I mean, if you're not burned in effigy, are you not
doing it right?
You're not doing it right, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You can't see it, but like right behind Margo's screen, she has a shrine of Michael Knowles.
Pretty much my pictures from Backstage Live. You can kind of see them there, along with my Math of the Ages sign from Trevor at Trinity Brewing, and then my Math of the Ages painting that I have from my good friend Lauren. So yeah, my little shrine of all my things that I love. So, by the way, Michael is also in Math of the Ages episode 2, and then he'll also be in episode 3, which is coming out next year sometime. We'll have a release date eventually. But look for him there. And yeah, speaking of Math of the Ages, if anyone wants to support Math of the Ages, just go to landonmass.com/donate.
Grifter.
Shameless plug for Math of the Ages.
That's the real reason Margo came on this episode.
Yeah. Just wanted to promote Math of the Ages and just get money from everyone. Just try the whole good thing, see how it works out.
Okay, now Supreme Crusader, how did you first find the Daily Wire?
I mean, I knew about them like kind of in passing through social media. Actually, what's interesting was that I was following. I actually followed Matt Walsh back when he was just an independent blogger, like in the early 2010s, or you know.
Wasn't he the most popular columnist, conservative columnist at the time?
He was one of the most prominent because of just his, I mean, like just as of his shtick, you know, his reputation. So yeah, I was following him then. He's pretty much still the same as he was back then, but then I kind of knew about Daily Wire just through like I said, social media. And at first I thought that they were just kind of like, you know, your run of the mill big con establishment outlet like the Blaze, or where they're like the extent of their conservatism is low taxes, guns, and socialism sucks, right? But we're gonna.
Are you sure you're not just describing the what is it? What's the turning point? Yeah, you're just
turning point. Where they're introducing strippers in their events now. So
turning point. It's just no, I don't recommend them.
Yeah. So then, but then I started to get to know kind of like their actual reputation through fanatics like Margo. Yeah. And and a whole bunch of other the leftist tiers. I actually have one of those when I got my subscription. I don't use it though because I don't use Tumblrs.
Of course.
But actually, I mailed it to a friend of mine who is making good use of it. But yeah, anyways, yeah. So I know them. I know they're. I'm more familiar with their reputation now. So they're actually doing good stuff in the culture war, which I appreciate. So I don't watch their stuff. I just give them money to fight the mentally ill. I mean, so
Okay,
gosh. Rest in peace, Connor's channel.
to be honest, saying fighting the mentally ill just sounds like hilarious.
wait, is that one of YouTube's like forbidden terms?
Well, if you use mentally ill in context with, you know
With
what?
I mean
that will kill. That
I
will
mean,
just destroy.
to help the mentally ill.
Not help.
You're not allowed to say that those people are mentally ill. We'll see how long the stream lasts, guys.
I'm so sorry, guys.
Rest in peace.
But anyways, yeah, that's me. So I watch Matt Walsh occasionally. I will watch their documentaries whenever they're out. I still have to catch up with some of them, but yeah. So that's my extent of.
I also love Matt Walsh because, again, like I was saying earlier, I love the dry sense of humor, and it just kills me. Like there are times when I'm watching Matt Walsh's show and I'm literally like crying, laughing because I'm just like I'm laughing so hard at Max. He's being so deadpan. He's being just so like deadpan, serious, ranting about something totally ridiculous that makes like no sense at all. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, Matt, like you're hilarious. I'm just like dying laughing. It's amazing. Yes. So I do have a sense of humor. I do. It's just not puns.
One of my criticisms, though, of Matt Walsh is aliens. So
okay, yeah.
Do you
wrong about that.
Do you believe that there are aliens, or at least that they visited us and that the government has them somewhere?
No.
I asked Supreme Crusader, Margo.
Oh, well.
I don't know. And if they are, and if they are real, they're probably actually demons.
Okay, so is everyone? So everyone's on the was the Michael Knowles camp here?
Yep. Oh, is that his argument?
Yeah, that's Michael Knowles' argument, is that aliens are demons.
I mean,
he and Matt Walsh fight each other regularly about it.
I mean, I knew that there was alien discourse on the TL. I just don't remember what originated it. But yeah.
Matt Walsh is like obsessed with aliens and thinking that they're real and stuff, and he thinks they're the most like exciting thing ever.
In the comments, type 1 if you think aliens are demons, or type 2 if you think aliens are just aliens that have visited us.
One.
I'm interested to see if there's a actual, a lot of alien believers, because it's just weird when the government starts telling you that aliens exist.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's saying that it's just a distraction from all of Hunter Biden's stuff.
That has coincided. It does seem like there's a strong connection there.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things that is trying to like keep us away from what they don't want us to pay attention to or don't want us to know, or because these people are incredibly incompetent. That's one of the impressive things about this administration, is that they're incredibly incompetent, though that does in some ways make it hard for people to fight incompetency. That makes sense, because you can't say these people are evil, even though they are, and then the people look at them and say, okay, but they're also just but they're too stupid to be evil, right?
Yeah.
And we have,
oh no! Yes. What are you doing here? No! Go away, Jeff! Get out of here!
Hi.
Jeff, you're
What's
back.
up, Jeff?
The Supreme
nemesis.
I was like you messaged me, it's like, hey, you guys still on? I was like, yes, come in. Come in.
Not my number one nemesis.
Jeff, are aliens real?
Wait. Did you actually just say that, Margo? You have many nemeses, but do you just say that I'm your number one nemesis?
Well, depends on the day. Also, too, because sometimes you're not my nemesis, because sometimes you're posting really base Catholic things and really like good like trad Catholic takes, and so I'm like, okay, yes, I like Jeff again, I like him. But then 2 seconds later, you'll go into your puns and stuff, and I'm like, oh wait, no, I hate him. So I can't decide.
That's completely fair. I'll take it.
But Jeff, do you believe aliens exist, or are they demons?
I believe mostly they're just figments of people's imagination more than anything. I think we would have heard a lot more in the past about aliens if it were truly like just a demonic origin. I think people have had their, intellects and imaginations altered, and not for the better, with some of the science fiction over the last 150 years. So, like, I do believe that, like, if anyone's having actual visions, then likely it's demonic. But I think most people that are having those are just having flights of fancy rather than anything else.
So you're taking the third way, that people are just crazy.
Pretty much.
I mean, that's not like out of the realm of possibility, because you have people claiming to see claiming to see a variety of things, whether it's ghosts or Bigfoot, so.
Yeah, I think it's kind of our generation's, or, the last 100 years version of cryptids. Because you don't really hear much about, the skinwalkers and things like that these days. Instead, you get people that are making claims about seeing UFOs and all those other types of things. So, like, I think that it's just kind of transition, whereas, those stories of Bigfoot and whatnot that were believed, and if you heard your name calling into the woods, you were going to get killed by X, Y, or Z unspeakable beast. I think that's just kind of been replaced by UFOs.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Also, is Matt Walsh just trolling the world on the aliens?
I mean, he really could be, because I mean, again, with that deadpan, dry sarcasm, I mean, he really could just be trolling this whole time. I mean, it's hard to know what Matt Walsh actually believes sometimes.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. He has the best deadpan in the game.
Do you think it's just a ploy to, like, I don't know, create conflict with Michael?
I mean, could be. Because, I mean, it's hard. I mean, because there's not going to be a lot of other conflict between him and Noel, since they're both Catholic and they're both pretty traditional. So it's like, what else are they going to fight about?
I think on the subject of aliens, we could also say the same thing about Matt Walsh's smile. It could just be a pigment of people's imagination.
I have a picture of myself with Matt smiling at the Daily Wire backstage.
No,
so I know I have made Matt Walsh smile. I have seen him smile in real life.
Do you have it on hand?
I mean,
that
I have
sounds
like
an
my phone.
AI deep fake to me.
I think I was thought to say it's either Photoshop or AI.
No, it is real.
Send it to me, and we're gonna put it up and examine it.
We're gonna dissect every bit of it to see if it's a fake.
It is real.
Yeah, see, I can see that Photoshop line between the both of you. Like,
but also, is it a smile? Even like it's just the his mouth just looks a little open.
His beard is so thick that it's hard to really make out.
Matt Walsh actually smiling would be the quickest way to alienate his fans.
Oh, Jeff.
Get out of here.
So glad you're here.
Well,
go away.
That's great. Well, first, Jeff, how did you find the Daily Wire?
I found it originally through one of my friends. Late, 2018, 2019, I was trying to look for at least, I'm not going to say, perfectly reputable news sites, because there's no news site that I'm going to take without a grain of salt, but I was looking for less completely obviously dishonest news sites. So he recommended a few, and the Daily Wire is the one that consistently for me was the most, at least, approachable in its takes. Like, it wasn't obviously, like Groiper-ish, stupid far right, and it wasn't mainstream media. But as I continued to read, I started to really appreciate the particular takes of the host. Like, I'd heard about Ben Shapiro, I'd heard about Matt Walsh before, and with all of them, I'm not going to take anything that somebody who writes articles for a living without understanding that they might just be looking for clickbait articles and whatnot. But consistently, they had, in my opinion, the best and most understandable takes, even if I didn't agree with all of them, and they weren't in any way obviously biased, that I could tell, at least. So I started to get a little bit deeper into the fandom, and then Margo was actually she was the entry point for me into like the deeper fandom. I joined space that she hosted with No Soup for Knowles, that was talking, it was immediately after the YouTube premiere of Shut In, and we chatted for like an hour and a half after that, because it was a really well done movie, a perfect entryway for Daily Wire into more of the entertainment space. And there was such beautiful Christian imagery throughout, even if some of it was a little bit on the nose. Like, it was really good, and I really enjoyed having the opportunity to chat about all of that with some of the super fans. So Margo then added me to like a couple of the group chats, and that was basically kind of my gateway drug in.
Gotcha. Awesome. Okay, so you guys all seem to jump in a decent amount later from when the Daily Wire started.
Mm-hmm.
No, I was there from almost the first year, because Daily Wire started around 2016, and I was there by fall 2017. So I wasn't there right from the beginning, but I was pretty close.
Yeah, Margo's an OG super fan.
I remember it was me, Strangeland Elf, and Not Blindfolded Bethany, and Ghostaco Clay. Like, we were like it. Like, that was the fandom on Twitter. It was just like the four of us. We were just the fandom, and then it just exploded over the past several years, and now it's just massive. And I feel like I'm one of the old people now, and I'm like, they're gonna forget about me because there's so many new fans. I'm like, Michael's probably just gonna forget I exist at some point. He's gonna be like, wait, who's Margo? What? Who's that girl? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure, especially after Jeremy called you out by name at Nashville.
Chastity!
Oh my gosh, that was the loudest scream. I heard it all
the
the way.
Scream heard around the world. The scream heard around the world when Jeremy called me out about Chastity. That was one of my favorite moments in life. To be called out by the CEO of Daily Wire about your passion about Chastity. That was just amazing.
Yeah. Former CEO.
Well, temporary former. Yeah, he stepped down temporarily while he's filming Pendragon over in Europe. Yeah, he kind of still has the title, but yeah, he'll be back next year, hopefully.
Wait, he's filming something?
Yeah, he's filming Pendragon, a movie. He's directing, yeah. So he's living out his dream, finally being a director, which is one of his dreams. He's filming it in Europe, in Budapest and Italy. And yeah, it's a new movie that'll be out next year on Daily Wire. So
I thought it was a TV show.
What?
I thought it was.
I don't know if it's.
I think it's going to be a show.
Is it going to be a show? Okay, I can't keep up with.
I could absolutely be wrong, so we'll see.
Yeah, all I know is that I just want Jeremy to be back on Backstage, because the Backstage shows are just not the same without him. It's just
Michael's literally the host now.
Michael is the host, which I do love seeing, but at the same time, there's something about Jeremy where he just adds like more.
Well, Matt Walsh wasn't on it for a really long time because they weren't in the same place.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day when they used to do Backstage in Los Angeles and before they moved to Nashville, that wouldn't be on. But he's been on pretty consistently ever since they moved to Nashville in I think that was fall 2020 or fall 2021. Fall 2020 is when they
See,
moved to
yeah,
Nashville.
Wait, so who's acting CEO then? Ben?
No, not Ben. It's a guy named Caleb Robinson, who's also
they
the co-founder. So those three co-founders of the Daily Wire, it was founded by Ben Shapiro, Caleb Robinson, and Jeremy Boeing.
and
Robinson. Sounds
Caleb
familiar.
was always co-CEO anyways.
Yeah.
So it's just he's now full CEO
Yeah.
until Jeremy gets back. Anyways,
Yeah,
I'm really interested to see that that show, and it'd be great. Like, I don't want them to mess it up. It just seems like one of the first shows that I'm just gonna be like, oh, I'm actually gonna watch that one. Like, you know, that's gonna be like, I might do reviews for that show.
Mm-hmm.
And actually put some focus on it, and that would be a lot of fun for it to be successful.
Maybe you'll even get an interview with the director.
That would be pretty fun.
I mean, you have connections. You have people who know people.
Sure.
You're gonna have.
Margo and I both know Clay decently well. She better than I do, but he
Wait, Clay?
Clay, Ghost Stalker.
Well, yes, but he's not the connection. I know Jeremy personally.
Okay, I was just going to say that I know that he regularly texts with Jeremy.
Okay,
yeah, I have Jeremy's phone number, and
so yeah,
I probably shouldn't say that, but it happened accidentally. But yeah, I mean, me and Jeremy.
She also has an address to the Daily Wire headquarters.
Actually, yeah, I do because I visited, but that's top secret. And if I gave it out,
anyways, Margo just needs to stop and before she reveals secret information.
Yeah,
Jeff, what are you saying?
I was just gonna say I really agree with. I think it was Elijah the Middleborn from Twitter that I really hope that they don't, if anything else, just continue the grayed out, dreary visual tone of anything that's taken place in the Middle Ages or with knights. I hope that there's actually bright and vibrant colors if they're showing royalty or knights, because there was beauty even if it was called the Dark Ages. So I really hope that that's not the tack that Jeremy takes that series.
Yeah, it would be nice to have a more sort of optimistic view of the time period. I'm planning on reading the series. I haven't read the series, so I'm going to read the series. So then before I watch the show, and then I can be uber critical as someone who read the book. And then anyway, so that'll be
so Connor, you're going to do your videos from the back of a rideshare?
What?
You're saying you're going to be uber critical?
Can you just go away?
Okay, that leads into a great topic. Jeff, I need you to do a full defense of puns.
You're going to get so many views on this. This episode's crazy.
This is off the rails. This is so off the rails.
Oh, we're doing trivia. No, we're not.
Yes.
Trivia.
Yes. No, we're not.
No. So my biggest defense of puns is that, first of all, humor is a good, natural, and fun thing for anyone to enjoy, and I think that Margo can agree with that. We should be able to laugh at humorous situations. We should be able to laugh at ourselves when we make silly mistakes. And at least for myself, puns are a very intellectual and smart form of humor. Margo, you can disagree all you want, but I'm being given the grandstand. I think that it's not a form of slapstick. It doesn't require any crudeness to it. It's purely based on wordplay. Shakespeare, one of the greatest wits that we have in the English language, used puns quite frequently, and he used them to great effect. So I think that a wordplay form of humor that's purely intellectual and doesn't require any crudeness is a good and natural thing that we should celebrate as a proper expression of humor.
That's exactly what I was saying earlier in the stream. Like I was telling her, look, me personally, it's not my main form of humor, but I can appreciate it because it requires creativity and quick wit. And
I do like
that
quick
is
wit.
something. Then
I
you
do
should
like quick
then you
wit.
should
I do like
appreciate
banter.
puns.
Then
I
why?
like banter, but I don't like puns. For me, puns are like nails on a chalkboard. It's just like so like ugh, like I don't know what it is. Like it's just like it's like, can you think of something else to say? And it's like people who do it over and over again, it's like, okay, it gets old after a little while. I'm not saying to anyone in particular who does puns repeatedly over and over again.
What are you
Wait, but
talking about? What are you
How
talking
how
about?
do you how do you defend against Jeff's comments that it is basically a form of comedy that doesn't that keeps away from crude and
Well, okay, so I don't like crude humor, so I do appreciate humor that isn't crude. So, in as much as puns are clean, like okay, like good, at least they're not crude, but they're still just I don't know, this is so cringy and they're just so like, ugh, like it's just some of them are just so obvious, and it's just like okay, like can you think of something more clever, like?
What could be more clever than puns?
that's a question, Jeff. Is there anything that's more clever than puns?
I do think there are definitely, forms of humor that can be, even higher brow. But I will, again, just point to one of my favorite shows growing up was Frasier, still is. It is as highbrow of humor as you can get in, media these days. And the number of puns that they still made on that show is very high.
That's the one with Kelsey Grammer, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Kelsey Grammer is great.
And they're
I
both
Frasier, but I like Cheers. Or at least the first few seasons of Cheers. I didn't like them in the later seasons when it changed and
when Frasier joined.
but I like the original. I like the first 3 seasons of Cheers.
Are you anti Frasier?
I'm not anti Frasier. I'm anti I just like the first few seasons when it was oh gosh, what are the 2 characters' names? I'm totally blanking. The bartender and Diane. That lifted my spirit. What? No, just Dan. No, just stop. Stop. You're gonna hurt yourself, Dan. Just stop.
And then it's Daniel Driver. That's just perfect.
Yes, Dan is one of my coworkers at Master of the Ages.
Yes.
What's that?
She's complaining about how much her coworkers love puns, and
it was like an hour today. It was an hour straight of puns on the thing that we used to communicate with each other. And it was a pain beyond belief, and I quit several times. I have a long running joke with them that I quit whenever I get annoyed with them, so I quit many times. And
Yeah, I was gonna say, how often does that happen?
pretty much almost on a daily basis.
It's Ted.
Yeah, Ted Danson. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much,
Diane. I like the little back and forth between them, and then I think Diane wound up with Frasier or something, and yeah.
No,
she.
Or didn't she? I forget.
Well, they dated, but
very briefly. Very briefly.
Okay.
I don't know. Diane's a bit insufferable to me.
Yep.
I mean, she's supposed to be insufferable, I'm pretty sure.
She makes it a little bit so that you're Diane inside. See, Margo, that is witty.
Exactly.
You laugh.
How can you
cringe?
How can you be mad at that?
I mean, she's smiling too, so I don't. Yes. You don't even now I don't buy that Margo actually doesn't like puns.
No, I think she just doesn't want to admit it.
Yeah, I think she's hiding her true feelings in order to basically in order to fight Jeff on Twitter. Margo, are you there?
No.
Are you still laughing? Is that why you're you don't have a picture anymore?
Of course she is.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
So, Master of the Ages.
No, well, different subject switch. Let's go. Supreme Crusader. Part of your bio says that you are a former pro-lifer turned abortion abolitionist. Now,
Oh, I thought you were going to say abortion activist. I was like, wait, what?
no.
Yeah, kill them kids. No, I'm kidding.
You say abortion activist for a second. I was like, what the heck?
Okay, Supreme Crusader, please explain what you mean.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a relatively recent change. So in the past couple of years, I think abolitionism has kind of been gaining a lot more traction, but it's still relatively unknown. I think a lot of people are unfamiliar with it.
Is this a term that like other people have created? Like I haven't seen it anywhere except for.
I know. I'll let Supreme explain, but I've heard of it. Because it's the difference between incrementalism and wanting it banned completely.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. So the abolition movement has, from what I understand, is relatively new in terms of like an organized grassroots movement. I would say it's probably been around since maybe 2010. I'm sure that I'm sure that ideologically there have been that has always existed in small pockets, but the main difference between pro-life and abolition, and I'm talking in generalities in regards to the pro-life. I'm not saying that all of pro-life, is that the pro-life movement is mostly secular driven in terms of like their moral framework, whereas the abolition movement is fundamentally gospel driven. So the main difference really is the ideological framework between the two. So what I mean by that, and I want to make a distinction here. I want to make the distinction between individual pro-lifers and what I'd like to call the pro-life lobby or the pro-life establishment, right? So those are like the big name, like the big pro-life organizations like National Right to Life, Students for Life, the Susan B. Anthony list, all that Live Action, with Lila Rose, that's that sort of thing. Oh, we lost Jeff.
Bye, Jeff.
I guess maybe he had to. Yeah. Bye, Jeff. If you're watching.
We'll miss you, Jeff. Oh no, he's back.
Oh,
there you are.
All right. I was just trying to log in so I could add some comments to the chat. Please continue, Crusader.
Oh yeah. And
what?
Never mind.
What?
I don't know. I was just reading the. Anyways.
Oh, Gregory.
Supreme Crusader, just don't look at the chat for.
Okay. Here, I'm going to switch to project so I can't see it. Okay, there. So, the basic, yeah. So yeah, it's so the difference is ideological, even though that there's a lot of overlap. Now, when it comes to like the pro-life paradigm, they are, like I said, they're secular based. So they base their philosophy on humanistic or worldly concepts like incrementalism, pragmatism, right? So generally, their sentiment is, okay, we'll just slowly, incrementally impose more restrictions and we'll take what we can get for now. Abolition, like I said, is gospel centered. So our approach to fighting abortion is based around God's principles. So so to give an example, a lot of in various parts of the Bible, like for example, Isaiah 10, right? God condemns those who promote ubiquitous decrees and those who deny justice for the needy, um, and for those who write unjust laws, right? So the thing is that with that in mind, abolitionists want total and immediate abolition, because in the abolition worldview, an incremental bill is still evil because it is showing partiality, right? So let's say, for example, like a 15-week ban. Yeah, it may sound reasonable from a practical standpoint. It's like, okay, well, at least we're saving lives, right? But the thing is that what a lot of people don't understand is that a lot of like these bills that are being put and the exceptions that they have are actually put on there by these so-called pro-life politicians themselves. They're the ones who are writing, okay, we're gonna allow this exception as a concession. That does not work under God's principles. You cannot show partiality. You can never negotiate with evil, right? So so be, so and look, I get it. It was a hard pill for me to swallow at first, because it's like, look, why not just take what we can get? I mean, at least we're saving lives. But in places like I believe it was I think it was Romans 3. Paul says, you cannot do evil for so that good can come out of it. The ends do not justify the means. So if there if there is a bill that shows that is not equal rights for all, then we reject that. And it may be tough to what was that? Oh, okay, never mind. So yeah, it may be a tough pill to swallow, but ultimately, like, if you are someone who is, a devout Christian, we should trust God's providence, over man's law. And I'll end my rant with this with this thing. Somebody pointed out something pretty interesting to me the other day. You look at Moses, right? Uh, when he was pleading with Pharaoh to let the Hebrews go. He didn't go, oh, um, I'll just, Pharaoh is the ultimate authority. We'll see what we can get. No, and he said, let all my people go, right? And Pharaoh kept trying to appease him as, okay, how about we let them go for this amount of time? How about we just let the women and children, let the men? Okay, all the people can go, but let's leave behind the animals. Did Moses say, okay, yeah, let's compromise? No, not even the animals, because God was in control. God was the one who demanded it, not the Supreme Court, not Capitol Hill. So, yeah, that's the basic difference.
Yeah, we must obey God rather than men.
Right.
Yes. Before we continue, just want to say Fred's in the house, and
Yay, Fred!
Hey, Fred.
Hey, Fred.
If I was outside Fred, I might be smoking a cigar, but
Yeah.
Do you do cigars, Connor?
yeah, I smoke cigars.
Oh,
I only
sweet.
smoke cigars when I'm with Michael Knowles.
If I wasn't asked last minute just to come on to troll Margo a little bit, then I might have already been out.
Hey, you should just be outside on your phone, and that way you can do both.
Well, anyways, Fred, it's great to have you in the chat. Thanks for watching, and also, yes, sort of, it would be good to have a cigar, but unfortunately, can't. at the moment. And also, Margo, you have a very odd line with cigars. Only with Michael Knowles. That's
Yeah.
That tends to be the case. I've only smoked twice in my life. Once was with my Daily Wire fan friends, and on our last night in Nashville in July of 22, and then I went to the cigar lounge with Michael and some friends this past April. So those have been like the 2 times I've ever smoked cigars.
Did
And
you
then-
enjoy it at least?
Yes, I did. I actually did enjoy them. I actually didn't like. I thought I was gonna like cough up a lung or something, or like embarrass myself in front of Michael and like cough to death or something. But no, I was like, it was fine. Although I didn't really get the hang of it for a while. It took me a while to like figure out how to smoke a cigar properly.
Mhm.
I was doing it wrong. I think I might have been inhaling or something by mistake, and apparently not supposed to do that. So little trial and error there, but I eventually figured it out.
Yeah. Well, I think my like probably third or fourth cigar was with Taylor Marshall. So it's so you know,
Ooh.
so your cigar, you're smoking you were new to smoking with Michael Knowles. I was relatively new smoking with Taylor Marshall. So uh, that
Still have to meet Taylor. I still have not met Taylor in real life. Still need to do that. Still on my bucket list.
For me,
Okay.
the entryway was actually the pipes.
Ooh.
Nice.
I just don't understand how pipes work.
It does takes a little bit of time and just pure trial and error. But one thing I did want to just come back to with Crusader is regarding abolitionism.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the other things that distinguishes it from purely just pro-life activism
Mhm.
is the recognition that the vast majority of mothers who choose to kill their children in the womb should be criminally liable for that.
That is correct, but
Mhm.
there is nuances to that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah. So that is the most controversial part, I would say, about abolitionism, and I understand why. And before I go any further, if there are any who are watching who may have had an abortion or know somebody, understand that you are forgiven, and God seeks you to repent, and He wants you to um, come back to Him. He's a merciful God. So whatever I say is in no way, a condemnation of you. Okay. I'm just simply explaining what the position is. Now, in regards to, because when we talk about impartiality, right? Um, we recognize that an unborn person is made in the image of God, just like everybody. Therefore, they are worthy of equal rights, including justice, right? Now, generally speaking, most abolitionists do not support retroactively uh,
Mhm.
administering punishments to those prior to a ban. Okay.
Does anybody are there people that do?
I'm sure there are, you can always find like fringe individuals who do, but as a general rule, like every abolitionist organization that I know does not support that.
Yeah,
I mean, really,
that would also go against one of the founding principles, at least for the U.S., of ex post facto.
yeah, exactly. So really, like I said, it to a degree, it does on a secondary level adhere to the U.S. Constitution. In that regard, yeah, they would keep that. And I mean, plain and simple, they just advocate um, an abortion to be treated exactly the same as any other homicide. End of story. So that means that if an abortion were to happen, uh, the exact same process of an investigation would happen. So if there was so if there was, if it can be proven that a mother was coerced or under duress to get that abortion, she would be exempt. So yeah, same mitigating circumstances. Um, you know, anything that is applied to any murder outside of the womb would be applied, to in the womb.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, one of the things I just appreciated that you had posted earlier, Crusader, was just that there are many pro-lifers, including, a lot of times myself, that tacitly subscribe to the magical birth canal, where, it's only after a child has been, actually born, that they deserve the same level of legal protection as those who have been born already. And I think just at least understanding that, yeah, just exactly like you said, those who are still in the womb deserve the same level of legal protection because they have the same dignity was, just kind of a gut check moment for me today, realizing like, okay, like they do deserve that same level of legal protection, not just with banning it, but also, if again, as you said, it had already been in place, not trying to go back in time to when it was legal, even if still morally reprehensible. Like, that was something I appreciated that you posted today.
Yeah, and to your point, I've been guilty of that cognitive dissonance too. I mean, I think we all have, because to varying degrees, I think culture, in a way, has influenced our perception of the unborn. I mean, even with those who have been in the fight for decades, I think subconsciously, in subtle ways, we don't think of the unborn as equal. That's why you that's why you have certain pro-lifers who get who concede to certain exceptions to abortion, right? Because and the thing is that uh, and I understand the sensitivity when it comes to those hard cases like rape and life of the mother, but the thing is that whether we admit it or not, that type of thinking implies that you do not truly believe that that unborn person is equal of value and dignity to anyone else outside the womb. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I've been guilty of that. I think I'm sure that there are still subtle ways that I need to refine my view of the unborn. But yeah,
It's also a poor, justice system. You're punishing the innocent for the crimes of the guilty.
mm-hmm.
And yeah. So, Mario, I want to hear your thoughts about what Crusader had to say.
Yeah, I agree with him 100. I actually do agree with him. I didn't think I was going to, but I wasn't sure like, if he was going to make exceptions because in the past it sounded like he thinks like that any woman who's had an abortion should be imprisoned, and I definitely wouldn't agree with that. Because I definitely think there's a lot of cases of women being coerced and pressured, or just not even like fully comprehending what they're doing. But obviously, I mean, like, if you're gonna lock up women, like, definitely lock up the women who are, like, shout your abortion and the women who are, like, proud of it and stuff. Like, definitely, like, those women need to be locked up. But not the women who are under such duress and, who get pressured into it by their parents or their boyfriend or whoever. So, yeah, I think it needs to be treated on, like, an individual basis.
Yeah.
If I might add, we do have different levels. If, somebody kills another person, they can be charged with first or second degree manslaughter, or actual murder. They can be charged with manslaughter if there's less intention. So like there already are degrees within the law.
Exactly. So in the cases of like surgical abortion, you go to a clinic and then in that case, under an equal rights law society, um, assuming that the mother was a willing participant, she would be charged as an accessory to a murder in the same way that uh, someone hiring a hitman to kill somebody. Uh, but with these days, especially after um, after the Dobbs decision, even so, here's the thing: even in those so-called total ban states like Texas, um, abortion is still legal, and and a lot of people are surprised by that. But what it did was that it simply banned surgical abortions. Right? It's like I don't think there's a single state. Some I think like Alabama do uh, have penalties for an abortionist, but no state to my knowledge has any repercussions for the woman. And so because of that, even in those total ban states, a woman could do a self-managed abortion and be immune to it. That's why since the Dobbs decision, the demand for abortion pills have skyrocketed. You know, and it's pretty unregulated. Like a mother could literally order this stuff online and have it shipped to her mailbox, and she could kill her baby right from the right from her own home. And so, yeah, Jeff, you want to say something? Yeah,
You're muted.
Jeff, you're muted.
Thank you. I appreciate you letting me know. Yeah, just I'm living currently in Colorado, and this is like an abortion sanctuary state.
Yeah.
And there is a wonderful Catholic practice here for women's health. And they actually had to apply for special exemption, basically, to be able to allow the abortion pill reversal treatment. Like they were going to be criminally prosecuted because if within a certain amount of time, if you take the proper pills, it can reverse the effects of, like the morning after pill. And they had to apply for protection to make sure that they weren't going to be prosecuted by the state. So they're currently the only ones that I'm aware of in Colorado that are actually allowed to administer that abortion pill reversal treatment. And it's absolutely insane.
It is insane. And chances are the reversal pill that you're referring to is called progesterone. So there is a cardiologist, a pro-life cardiologist that I follow. His name is Dermot Kernoy, right? You may have seen it. He's from Ireland. Really, really just amazing guy. He's a devout Catholic. Really compassionate. He was actually somebody who made news like in the pro-life sphere because he was prescribing progesterone to mothers who have regretted their abortions, and so progesterone, depending on how long it's been since a mother has taken the abortion pill, the longer it is, obviously, the lesser chance that that the baby can be saved. But so far, because of his work, he was able to save at least 36 babies. But he has been crucified by the media by saying, "Oh, that's progesterone is dangerous for women. Is responsible." Every single investigation that has turned out nothing. There's nothing wrong with what he did.
Yeah, I have to step in here really quick.
Yeah,
my wife is a Creighton fertility care practitioner, so she's gone through the training, and one of the number one causes of miscarriages is low progesterone.
Right.
And that's why even some women who are single it's still beneficial to go through some form of, Creighton or other fertility care program just to be able to identify those things beforehand. Like one of my friends from college actually, very sadly suffered a miscarriage, and my wife was able to work with her, and then through their NAPRO doctor, they recognized it was low progesterone. As soon as they were able to recognize that they had likely conceived, she went on progesterone and got shots to supplement that. And thankfully, they were able to have a healthy baby a few years back.
Oh, praise
So
God.
progesterone is a good and wonderful thing for those who are, lacking in it, or apparently even if they've already taken action against it, there's wonderful things that can be done with it. And there's absolutely no reason for a doctor to be, crucified for that.
Right. Well, thank God for that she was able to have a healthy baby, and that's awesome. Yeah, no, progesterone is literally the ivermectin of the abortion
Oh
world.
no.
I mean, am I supposed?
again.
Oh, am I not
Hey,
supposed to? I'm sorry.
Well, the FDA just came out and said that doctors can prescribe ivermectin. So Connor, you're protected.
Really? Oh wow, I didn't have that.
Okay. I'm
Well,
sorry. I forget
to be
about
fair,
their rules.
To be fair, even if it says it on a government website, that doesn't make it okay on YouTube.
I'm sorry.
That's so true.
I
It's
should not be
okay,
allowed.
Connor. I mean, yeah, Supreme. It's fine. Just laugh about it.
It's fine.
Don't
Okay,
feel
I'm
bad.
sorry. Okay. But yeah, no, it's progesterone has been around, and it's perfectly safe. The only people who are speaking about it are those who are deliberately lying to smear the cause to save babies. So no, that's a really awesome story, Jeff. But yeah, I mean, yeah, progesterone does save babies. Like it oftentimes it's a low chance, but it's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and a lot of mothers do regret it.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah.
let's move things a little bit back a little bit to sort of punishments for women who have who have abortions and stuff like that when they're not coerced, of course. Now, is there? I believe I've heard. Have I heard Lila Rose talk about how she's not in favor of that type of thing? Is that that type of group?
A live action.
Yeah, is not interested in that type of thing.
So live action. So Lila Rose has actually come out and said that she is in favor of it in some in some form. She said that she said that in the Whatever podcast when she was on with Kristen Hawkins debating against Destiny. So Lila Rose, she says that she does support it to some degree, although see, here's the thing. Like I like Lila Rose. I respect her a lot. She's probably one of the very few like pro-life lobby figures that I actually still respect in terms of like consistency and things like that. She does get and I think a lot of abolitionists would say the same, although some less charitable voices in the abolition would still say that what she says does not line up with what she does, because live action has never actually voiced actual support for any equal rights bills that have been introduced in any of the states. So I don't know. I mean, I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. So I mean, if she says it, okay, great. But I would definitely like to see more support. That would be nice. But no, Kristen Hawkins though does not. I know that she for sure does not support it in any circumstance.
I just don't I don't understand the argument that those who participate in the ending of a life should get off scot-free.
Well, that's the thing, and this is why it's arguably the most controversial, because it's a very emotional thing. Like, and I understand it why, because at first I thought it was kind of icky, because I think that we have a natural, as a society, have a natural desire to defend and protect women. So when it comes to an abortion, oftentimes the woman in those situations uh, are painted as victims, and sometimes they are. You know, there are cases where, um, she, she made a mistake. She's scared. She wants to keep the baby, but everyone around her wants to, is telling her to kill the baby. Uh, but that's not all cases, and in my view, I don't think that's even most cases. So, um, again, to go back to the tenets of abolition, we ultimately we follow God's law, and God uh, demands justice, and for there to be equal treatment. So uh, by not punishing mothers who willfully kill their baby, well, that's showing partiality.
Yeah, if I could offer just two things in support of this.
Yeah.
One of the, most common cited reasons for support of, retributive justice, including things such as the death penalty. I'm not saying in this situation, I'm just saying in general,
Yeah.
is the fact that there is a deterrent effect. If people know that they are going to be punished for their actions, it's more likely to keep them from actually committing those. And the second is that even, regardless of whatever the laws are in a particular state at this point, it still is Catholic doctrine that if someone is involved in procuring an abortion, they incur a late sententiae excommunication. They are automatically, by those actions, excommunicated. There is an inherent punishment that's involved, and it doesn't have to be handed down by any member of the clergy. So if that's the case, which, excommunication is meant to be a grace and a mercy to show somebody that they're outside of the laws of God and that they need to return to it. But if, that is the ultimate punishment that the church on earth can provide, why wouldn't there be the possibility of civil authorities being able to provide judgment and punishment for something that is so inherently evil?
Right.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Justice,
sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Justice is inherently trying to sort of make right what has been undone. And when there's something that cannot be undone, like murder, that doesn't mean you just let the other person, the person who performed the murder, to get off the hook completely, because they don't have anybody to make up for, they don't have anybody to sort of I don't know, to get justice. But that's not technically true, because you still have family members, you still have people that deserve justice outside of just the individual person that is wronged. And then you also have society as a whole that demands justice.
Exactly. Yeah, and the thing is that with the pro-life lobby, you could argue very compellingly that they don't actually, in practice, they don't actually want abortion like totally illegal, because of the fact that almost the majority of them oppose penalties for the woman, because you cannot make something illegal without penalties. I mean, to quote Captain Barbosa, They're more like guidelines than actual rules.
Wait, who?
It's from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Pirates Code. It's more like
Yeah.
guidelines.
Guidelines than actual
Oh.
rules.
Should I
Um,
watch that sometime?
Yeah.
No, it's a great movie. Only watch the first two. The other ones are
How many are there?
five.
Five.
5 or 6.
Oh my god.
Yeah. But yeah, and no, Jeff, you're absolutely right. Like, punishment is a mercy. We don't I know that sounds crazy to a lot of people, but how can it not be when you consider the fact that, I mean, what is the role of a parent? What is the role of God? Can any Christian honestly say that God, who is the very definition of love and justice, is not loving when he dishes out punishment, or that a parent, So yes, it does act as a deterrent. And one of the most aggravating arguments I keep hearing is this cognitive dissonance is that not all, okay, many on the pro-life side will want penalties for the doctor, but not the mother, and their reasoning is because what good does punishing what good is punishing the doctor but not the mother?
Yeah.
We
We live in a society that is so focused on mercy. We've completely lost any appreciation for justice.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, exactly. And because of that fact, there is the argument that one of the biggest criticisms that many people have of of the abolition movement is that pushing for punishment will make the anti-abortion cause take a step back in terms of public opinion, right?
yeah.
And to that I say, well, if we were worried about popularity, why are we even fighting against abortion at all?
Well, yeah.
We're not doing this because of what's popular. We're doing it because of what is right.
If we just took polls to see what the correct positions were, we'd be moving left all the time.
I have a question. What about the men who pressure women into getting abortions? Should they be punished?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, they're coercive.
They are co-conspirators.
So one thing I just want to throw out here, just I in general agree with pretty much all of your premises, Crusader, but the thing that I think is more difficult to swallow, at least from a public consensus area, which again, I agree we shouldn't base what we are legislating for purely off of that. We should go off what is true, good, and right. But it can be much more difficult and gray determining levels of culpability for the mother and the father who was actually pressuring who, as opposed to the abortionist purely has no stake in it and is just willingly choosing to murder a child. So what would you say to those who recognize that it can be much more difficult to determine levels of culpability so that appropriate punishments could be meted out?
Yeah, and I do appreciate that question because I have heard similar arguments like, okay, how do you prove guilt when, say, like an unscrupulous boyfriend roofies the mother? How how do you do that? And I would say, we can only the burden of proof is on the state to prove guilt, right? So they can only charge what they can prove. Now, So yeah, there are sticky situations, and I'm not a legal expert. So if I'm perfectly honest, I uh, I haven't really thought too much like on that. I will say though that you can find uh, similar examples to a lot of other crimes. Like for example, okay, let me choose my words carefully. Um, Intimate assault can be hard to prove.
Mm-hmm.
And there are, unfortunately, because we live in a fallen world, in any avenue of crimes, sometimes justice does not get served properly, and we have to acknowledge that. I would say I would say that uh, that doesn't that doesn't negate the need to pursue justice as a principle, though. Um, and because even if you take it from like let's 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 take it from a purely practical perspective. Um, many, just like with any other horrific act, many women have more than one abortion. At the very least, removing them from a free society and putting them in prison will stop them from harming again. So, yeah, I mean, there are going to be hard cases. I mean, there's no getting around that. But if that were to stop us, then we would not be prosecuting any crimes.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. Margo, I'm really curious to hear your response to this discussion so far.
Yeah,
No,
and
I mean,
and we should
I
be
agree.
asking.
Like, and the thing with me that's interesting about me where I come at with abortion is I come at it more from a chastity angle. So for me, the way like that I want to end abortion is I want to encourage chastity because I truly believe that if people understood what the purpose of the sexual act is, and if they kept it within the context of marriage, and I can't believe I have to say this, but marriage between a man and a woman, if we
Just trying to
kept
pull me
it
down again.
if we kept it within that context, then there almost wouldn't be a need for abortion anymore. I mean, I know some married women do get abortions, unfortunately, but at the same time, like, if you understood, like, if you're open to life when you're engaging in the sexual act and you're recognizing that, obviously the woman might get pregnant, and that, and you're okay with that, and you're open to life that way, you're not going to have an abortion. You're going to welcome that life. So I think that's where I come from, more from it. Like, and I haven't really thought through all, like, how exactly, like, what exactly should the punishment be? Should it be like how many years in prison should it be? All that stuff. I haven't thought that through. My thing, I focus more on the chastity aspect of it, and I just want to encourage people, to get married and to only have sex within marriage. Just no more, like, I'm not saying I don't think we can outlaw fornication. I wish we could. But we just need to just drastically reduce it, and we just get rid of this culture of hookup sex and casual sex and all that. Like, just get rid of that and just show people that men and women should be honoring each other and not using each other as objects for sexual pleasure. And that sex is not about the pleasure. Yes, the pleasure is nice and it's a nice bonus. I don't know. I mean, I'm a virgin, so I don't know exactly what the pleasure's like. I just know from hearsay. But at the end of the day, like, sex is about babies and bonding. It's about being open to life, and it's about bonding of husband and wife together as one. And that's what we need to encourage more. Is just just get rid of this whole thing of like wanting to have sex without consequences and all that. Because I mean, there's going to be, and no matter what, there's always going to be consequences to sex. Like, no matter what happens, like, even with abortion, like that's still a consequence. Like, and there's still pain. Even the people who shout their abortions, they still have underlying pain. They still have, even if they try to, shove it way down, there is pain somewhere in there after an abortion. So there's no such thing as having sex without consequences, and we just need to recognize that and show people how beautiful marriage is and how beautiful it can be when sex is just exclusively within marriage, and that it's okay to not have sex. It's okay to be single, and it's okay to be chaste. Like, you are not going to die for not having sex. I promise.
Yeah, and to go along with that point, Margo, like those things are arguably, becoming less and less popular as our society degrades. That being said, that doesn't mean that those are not worthy causes to fight for. Because the devaluing of sex, the watering down of it leads to all these things like hookup culture, abortion, and broken families.
Yeah.
No, no, you're right. I mean, if people,
like, I want to prevent abortion that way. I want to stop people from even from it being necessary. I don't even want people to even go that on it. To even be an option. If we just be open to life and we just recognize that life's not about pleasure and it's gonna be okay if you never have sex. I promise you, I'm living proof that you can survive and be a virgin and and if and at this point, I've made my peace with it. If I get married, great. If I don't, oh well. There's more to life than that. And we just need to stop trying to get rid of consequences. It's almost the same thing as I want to eat a dozen Krispy Kreme donuts and not gain 100 pounds or whatever. You can't eat 12 Krispy Kreme donuts and not be obese.
This is part of the transhumanist sort of mentality of trying to take regular biological functions and alter them in order to basically remove mostly from women their humanity, and as well as some other side effects of birth control that has also lowered the testosterone in men from getting into the water and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, it gets into the. I mean, it messes up all of us eventually.
So Alex Jones is correct.
They're doing the freaking Bog's Day.
I swear this episode is just how many times can we try and get lines taken down?
Yes.
Live stream. Now I want to address. So we have a priest in the chat, and so Father it has a part 1 and a part 2. As a priest, high school chaplain, and all-girls school, I was laughed out of an administration meeting when our policy required the expulsion of a student procuring abortion. I asked, "What about the father who might have gone to a local school, Catholic school? Nothing ever happened to him."
And there was another comment afterwards that he says that 4 years later, he was transferred to this largest max security prison, and it was more sane.
Yes. I mean, I'm not surprised. I don't really believe Catholic schools, for the most part, are Catholic in any capacity whatsoever. I mean, I guess the student was being expelled for procuring an abortion, which I guess is something that is Catholic. But I assume with them not thinking farther than that, I bet it was mostly procedural and not really with any real thought process. Just these are the rules that we already have. We can't change them, and so that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That actually reminds me of someone that I heard about recently that I'm just adjacently connected to, but the now husband was at least nominally a Catholic, trying to live that out, and is actually teaching theology at a Catholic high school. And he was going to have his girlfriend move in with him. And because that wasn't, he could have lost his job, he ended up eloping with her. So no Catholic wedding. It was just purely a legal thing.
Yeah, no wedding at all.
Yeah, exactly. It was really surprising and out of the blue to hear about this because, it had hopes that it was going to go better for this couple, but instead, broke one of the 6 commandments of the church that isn't talked about these days. But he was married outside of the church with full knowledge just so he wouldn't lose his job and so that he could live with his, girlfriend, fiance / however you want to.
Fiance.
Fake wife.
Fiance. I mean,
Yeah.
they're not like if in the eyes of the Catholic Church he's not married, then yeah, fiance.
Yeah.
Um,
But because of that, he's still going to be employed at that Catholic high school and be teaching theology.
We'll see. Yeah,
Why
and I
wouldn't
think
you just get married in the church?
That was my question.
yeah, I was just about to ask, why did you just get married in the church? Oh, but
Why would you elope? Why? I don't
Stubbornness.
understand.
I don't know.
no. Actually, I
What?
think I might know why. Because and I'm just speculating here. He probably didn't want, like the school authorities to wait. I'm sorry. Did the school know about his situation? Like,
I don't know the particulars of it. Like I
Okay.
said, I was adjacently connected to it, but just surprised by it.
I think maybe, I mean, if he were to have like a proper sacramental marriage within the Catholic Church, he might have thought that like, because I mean, it would be like in front of witnesses, so he probably thought it would be like, too shameful of of his circumstances, or I don't know. That's just my guess. Maybe.
Well, yeah. I mean, personal problems or personal inclinations always get in the way of people doing the right thing. It's just we just have sort of desires that are, or fears that are, that don't, they aren't legitimate. They feel like great pressure, and we fear what it would be like to sort of open ourselves up to the truth, but we want to avoid it because that's easier.
Mhm.
But it will torment us for so much longer. So,
Yeah.
anyways, he could have been fired if he was in father's diocese. But lay administrators overlook it. I mean, I don't know how much of this stuff is overlooked. I feel like it's probably a lot.
Well, I
Well,
think
so-
also.
One of the
Okay,
things that stands out to me is the whole thing about lay administrators. Like, where's the bishop in this? Like,
Well,
the bishop
there-
is supposed to be the shepherd of souls, and the bishop is supposed to be the one who's ultimately like the overlooker of his diocese, and that includes schools and
he's the
he's teaching
father
them.
of the
Yeah, he's supposed to be the father. And where are the bishops?
Well, they always complain about not having enough priests, but then they also go and cancel them as well.
Yeah. Well, the thing I would throw out to that, and this is a completely different conversation we don't need to go too deep into, is that, although the number of Catholics is dwindling horrifically in the US over the last 50 years, we don't have enough bishops for the number of Catholics. There should be more bishops, and there should be better bishops, but there should be enough bishops that they can actually have, a personal relationship with the people in their diocese. There shouldn't be millions of people in their diocese.
We need to break down dioceses. Like, we have these massive dioceses that are just way too big, like the Archdiocese of Chicago, the Archdiocese of Los Angeles, and I know we have like auxiliary bishops and stuff, but we really just need to stop having these massive dioceses that are just too big, and we need to have it be more localized. Again, subsidiarity.
How many
Also-
how many dioceses are there in the United States?
Well, I would guess probably 200 something.
Join something.
Yeah.
Oh.
That would be my guess, but that's purely a guess. I haven't looked it up.
Yeah.
Let me see.
I could be wrong, but I believe there used to be multiple bishops, like many bishops, just for Paris alone.
I probably, but Paris is
There are
also a very large diocese. So
there are 194 dioceses in the United States.
that's kind of close. So
Yeah.
one of the problems is with auxiliary bishops is they have no independent authority.
Mm-hmm.
They are at the whim of the bishop in charge of said diocese. So that's where sort of or that's one of the problems that comes into play, that they don't really get to be true fathers of the diocese when basically they're like junior fathers.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
they technically do have a different area of the world, usually like an ancient part that they are technically the bishop of.
What do you mean, like titular?
Yeah, they're titular bishops of another area, but administratively they're assigned
To a different.
Yeah,
part?
so like I forget the particulars. I could be wrong. Please correct me in the chat. But I remember like when Bishop Barron was ordained as a bishop, he found out that like his titular diocese was somewhere in like the Asian steppe. But
Really?
Oh.
That's so
That's-
bizarre.
So
But
that
then-
means he would have authority in that Asian area.
yeah, but it doesn't
Probably not
actually
really.
like the diocese itself doesn't even really exist anymore. But
Yeah, these places, yeah, they'll get titles that don't actually correspond to old suppressed dioceses.
Yeah, thank you, Father Robert.
Anyway, so that
Interesting. So it's kind of a satellite pseudo jurisdiction.
And I absolutely agree, Connor. Like that's ridiculous. Why not just have multiple dioceses instead of the mega diocese of Los Angeles?
yeah, and I mean, there are so many giant dioceses, and they could probably be better managed with bishops with full authority to govern them, and not a board. Yeah, not like a. I mean, the archbishop is most likely just delegating a large percentage of the sort of job of administering the diocese to a bunch of lay people, most likely, because they don't have enough priests to actually administer all of the parishes, and so then they have to delegate to lay people. It's quite unfortunate.
Well, isn't there has there been like any recent like any real efforts to try to court more men into the priesthood, or like either on a local level or
I mean, it really tends to be on a personal to personal level. Usually, I've never actually heard of like a large like U.S. wide or diocesan wide mission that actually has succeeded in driving up vocations. I mean, the places that are growing in vocations tend to just be more traditional dioceses, or dioceses that are just purely open to more traditional liturgies or traditionally minded priests. So, I mean, places like the SSPX and the FSSP and the ICKSP have plenty of vocations. And one of the big things that happened in the last couple of years was the basically the ICKSP's U.S. seminary was shut down in the Archdiocese of Chicago. So we have vocations, but then they're inhibited by the hierarchy in a lot of ways.
Well, you went to the well, I guess both you and Margo went to the canceled priest conference, and weren't most of those council priests, or where they are because they were quote unquote, too traditional or what have you?
Not not always. I mean, it's more like not just so there were probably a few that were specifically like what you'd consider maybe trads or whatever, but there's also just a substantial number that had more just conservative, what you'd consider conservative leanings, that was not enough. Father was actually was there.
Oh, he's one of them.
Well,
oh, God bless you, Father.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to hear that.
Sorry, Father.
I'm so sorry to hear that, Father.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it just, I don't think they're all like traditional necessarily. Like there are probably plenty traditional priests out there that are not canceled. It's just what diocese did you get into? What bishop did you have? And that sort of regionally, there's a lot of differences, and the whole idea that there used to be an idea in the Catholic Church where if you were a bishop of a diocese, you were there basically for life, and that was your flock. But there's become a culture of sort of climbing up the ladder of dioceses. You go from a small diocese where you're like tested by the upper echelons of the hierarchy, and then if they like you enough, then they might send you to, or well, first they actually might send you as an auxiliary to a big diocese where you're then mentored by a big honcho. Then you're moved to a smaller diocese to independently sort of lead that diocese, and then you get moved again, or you maybe become an archbishop, and then you become a cardinal. This whole concept is so foreign to the Catholic Church for so long that it's just become kind of.
It's almost sounds like a shepherd corporate ladder.
Well, yeah, it's almost like simony, I would say. Not exactly, but it's close.
It has that mentality anyway.
Yeah, it's like you're buying. There's no transaction of money, but there's probably a transaction of favor or
glory, or
there's a reason the good and faithful Bishop Strickland will likely never be moved to a bigger diocese.
He's in a tiny one.
Yeah, that's actually a good thing, because we should not be moving bishops around either. Like we should be keeping bishops.
Fine. I mean, the problem is that there is some use to moving a bishop when you have very few good bishops.
Right.
Sometimes you have to move the good ones to the most, where they would do the most good.
Yeah, if you were actually using orthodoxy and being a good shepherd as a measure rather than orthodoxy to the current regime, we'll just say.
Yeah, I mean there may be like there might be it might be legitimate if there was like an actual need to move them, right?
So like in my Margo and I are both from the same diocese, but in our diocese there was a bishop that was moved to become Archbishop of Seattle, and he was moved only because he was very good. Like he wasn't moved because, and you can tell this because he never got the card, he never got the red hat, and then he eventually had to go into, or he got sick and had to move into like leave being Archbishop of Seattle. But anyway, so the whole point is that like there's a way that this could happen, but I think there needs to be an overhaul on how bishops are picked. And Eric Sammons and I disagree on this, but I would say that it should become, or was it Eric or not? Actually, Eric might have agreed with me. Oh, Darren disagreed with me.
Darren.
My whole theory or my plan or my idea, which isn't necessarily like if this doesn't work, I mean, I'm happy to not be done or whatever. But my thought process was the priests of each diocese know their fellow priests very well. They know who's Orthodox, who's who's
Heterodox.
who can sort of who goes for the justice route. Where do you fall? Are you following church teaching? That sort of thing. Do you have reverent liturgies? And are you really trying to better yourself? So if priests had a vote in who the bishop of their diocese was, and that it had to be a priest of that diocese, then they would definitely, at least there would be a better chance of a good and faithful bishop, as well as one that cares about the diocese in that location. And then, of course, I would say the Pope would still have to approve said candidate.
Yeah.
I don't think that I don't think there should be a disconnect between the nomination and the confirmation. I think the Pope should be able to confirm on whatever grounds he wishes, but he should have to take from at least like a list or a group of priests voted on by the priests of the diocese. The one thing I think Eric said is that it should be laity, and I do not think the laity should be voting at all, because they have really bad instincts for the most part on priests. Because I know tons of laity who think really highly of some priests who have terrible liturgies and terrible instincts, at least in my opinion.
Slim Jim.
Well, and you have the cult of personality that forms too, like, and that's not necessarily a good thing all the time. Like, where people get all, like, kind of have like a fandom of a certain priest, and
yeah, I was just about to say that.
Then
some of the laity may view certain priests with like rose tinted glasses.
Yep.
Well, yeah, because
sorry, just really quick, because this hits home for me. How many laity have been duped by priests who have been steeped in sexual sin?
Yep.
True.
That absolutely happens.
Yep.
One other thing I also want to throw in is, before the College of Cardinals, it was the clergy of Rome that voted on who the next pope would be, because he is the bishop of the See of Rome. So I think, Connor, you're absolutely right in your proposition here.
It's something people don't focus on so much, because it's not as probably glamorous as like changing the liturgy or even just sort of, I don't know, changing canon law or something like that. Like there are things that need to be undone that had been done even in sort of the pre-Vatican II and stuff. And it's not like so like these decisions were probably made in good times, in times where it was probably beneficial for the Holy Father to just purely pick whoever he wanted, because, and this is mostly political, throughout history in Europe, the way bishops were picked changed a lot, because there was somewhat arguments with the secular state, that sort of thing. Kings wanted to be influential, and that in some sense that was useful in certain areas. It was also bad in certain areas, which it just kind of went back and forth. But then when the secular state became utterly secular, meaning like it had no interest in religion, then it became singularly the Pope picking the bishops and having no one else needing to collaborate with. And now the people he does collaborate with, insofar to appoint bishops, are usually just a cabal of high hierarchy that kind of have a agenda, in my opinion.
Or even worse, there's the Vatican Treaty with China that pretty much allows a communist state to determine who the next bishops are going to be.
I heard something about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Crusader, do you know who the now absolutely disgraced former Father McCarrick is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was from Pennsylvania, wasn't he?
He was there for a time, I believe.
Yeah. During the scandals.
He's the quintessential hierarchical climber, and everyone else he raised up. He had them climb the ladder with him, and that's what a lot of the clergy are currently.
Yeah,
right.
And he's the one who was basically sidelined during Benedict's papacy, and then shortly after Pope Francis was elected, he was, brought back into the spotlight, and he was the one who arranged the treaty with China, which I don't know. Nobody of us is going to know all the particulars of. So I'm speculating here, but there's good reason to think that it could have been purely for the sake of monetary gain that the Vatican signed that treaty that then allowed the Chinese communist state to determine who the bishops and fathers of those dioceses were going to be.
Well, I mean, having an underground church, which is what was in existence prior and still is. If I'm correct, there's still a underground church, though it's even more persecuted because of this deal. And now, having an underground church, there's no money that comes from that because it's underground. Like you can't access sort of the ability or the money that would come from that. But of course, if you're looking at a state sanctioned church, then you're going to probably find more money in that. And well, the Catholic Church just has a whole problem with corruption in the monetary world. That's probably why Supreme Crusader is not a Catholic.
Oh yeah, by the way, Saintha, you want to be Catholic?
At least that's what.
Join us.
I mean, I've heard a lot about I've heard a lot of about infiltration, within the church by, corrupt elements. So I don't know. I mean, I don't see. Here's the thing. I try to be as objective about these sort of things as I can, because the thing is that, I mean, there has been the Christian church, whatever your view of it is, whether it's Catholic or whatever, has been through serious trials since the very beginning. I mean, you look at the original apostles. We had an actual traitor, within them. So I don't necessarily see the scandal within the Catholic Church as necessarily something that would deter me.
So what is deterring you?
The fact that I'm allergic to incense.
So
and I can't swim.
You're saying you're too insensitive.
I'm too insensitive,
Incense.
Margo's obviously very sensitive.
Wait, are you actually?
I see what you did there. I saw that, Jeff.
Are you actually allergic to incense?
No.
No, this is a joke.
I know.
No, actually, when I visited the Latin Mass, because Margo kept nagging me, I was like, wow, this smells kind of nice. Like, I want to ask the priest where he gets this stuff, I love incense. It smells really nice. So, but yeah, I mean, yeah, no, I don't, because because I'm quite aware of the fact that, I mean, I don't want to go too far into this rabbit hole, but because I know that this is like a huge thing, but like I know that especially since Pope Francis became, took the throne, it's been a source of a lot of people leaving for whatever, either to Orthodoxy or to become a set or what have you. Um, and I understand that, but for me, it's like when you look at, I mean, look, Satan is going to be attacking the church always, right? So whatever happens, the true church is. I would say, I would even argue that the fact that it's being attacked is actually more of a evidence for that. I'm not saying that that's necessarily going to be the thing that, but so yeah, I don't really see it as, I mean, of course I see it as very, very unfortunate. And it's sad, but I wouldn't like that in and of itself that um wouldn't deter me.
So I am curious, and I really want to let this live up to the title of Supreme Crusader versus Margo. So I want to step back here and just purely listen in. Can you answer Margo's question? What is it that keeps you as not being Catholic? Like, I understand that, it's not purely just the corruption, but what is it that actually, prevents you from crossing the Tiber? And Margo, I'll let you respond and I'll try to be quiet.
Apparently Jeff is now the moderator.
Bye, Connor.
Well,
we're just taking over your channel. It's okay.
Yeah. Well,
anyway,
so really, what it comes down to is the evidence for the papacy. That's really what it comes down to. It's purely intellectual. That's really what it is. Because I've been also exploring Orthodoxy as well, and kind of looking at their both sides of the historical arguments for the papacy. And so like so for me it's I'm just not quite sure. I just been having like doubts whether like the early church was like functioned in a way that was defined by Vatican I. That's really what it comes down to. So that's because I mean there's a lot of other things that I could say that's keeping me back, but what I've come to settle on is that if I can be convinced that the papacy is true, all that stuff doesn't matter. Right?
What would convince you that the papacy is true?
If the Archangel Gabriel came to me and said, Supreme, yeah, no, come on, Peter's a rock. Just
okay, so you need an angel to tell you.
Margo,
no,
hold on a second. I have a question. So you're currently a Lutheran. You're exploring Orthodoxy. Now, my real question more so is, if you look at the way the Orthodox run, and you look at the way the Lutheran Church runs, how did Lutheranism sort of basically Lutheranism comes out of a church. I mean, it separates from the Catholic Church after such a long time of following the popes, right? How can it even be sort of I don't know, an honest form of structure if it basically had been, by their own logic, apostatized for so long, and then with the Orthodox, why can't they call like ecumenical councils? I mean, they can't, or according to themselves, from my understanding, because the Bishop of Rome is not, they're not in communion with the Bishop of Rome, and he would have to do it.
I'm sorry, but
Be there.
Ralph's comment was just too perfect. Said that Supreme Crusader must be named Thomas.
Oh, Doubting Thomas.
Doubting
Thomas. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's funny.
Anyways, so Supreme Crusader, can you address my points or my questions?
So you're asking how the Lutheran Church can be a serious church? Is that basically what I'm sounding?
No, I don't mean serious insofar as like, I just mean legitimate, as in like if it had come basically from heresy for so long, from their own perspective. At least that's what I would presume based on Martin Luther's break with Rome. How did it how did God allow it to not exist for so long? And then how would you still be how would you able to come out of that? Because from a historical perspective, it just seems like, okay, the Christian church split between the West and the East. Well, not completely West and the East, but between Orthodoxy and Catholicism, and then a new strand comes sort of out of disdain for corruption, and then a little further in the 1500s.
Yeah, and that's actually a question that I didn't really start thinking about until after I became Lutheran, right? And so really that's really essentially a question that I'm trying to figure out right now, on just looking into. I mean, I think that a key question that I'm trying to discover is, okay, was there what is the Christian hierarchy intended by God to be to have an infallible charism? Okay.
Well, how else?
Because if it is,
hold on, Margo, just let him finish.
Yeah. So if it doesn't, well, then I would suppose that that the Reformation has more legitimacy. But if it does, then then the Reformation would not be legitimate, and that's really what I'm trying to find answers to. Yes, Margo. Yes, I'm calling on you.
Where does authority come from? Like, just how? Like, if we don't have an infallible authority, where does it come from then? Just where do we look to then? In the absence of some kind of infallible authority, infallible magisterium, where does it come from? Because obviously, that you're not one of those Protestants that an individual interpretation of scripture and all that. I know you're not one of those types, but because you see what happens, like when we don't have an infallible magisterium or pope, then we just devolve into, well, I think that the scripture should be interpreted this way. I think it should be interpreted this way, and we get 500 different explanations, and there's no one to say, there's no objective external authority to say this is correct or this is heresy. How do we know?
And sort of just building on Margo's point, just why would the hierarchy of Lutheranism be even a necessity or acceptable if there is no some level of infallible hierarchy or guidance within the church? such as that. Like, it seems like if you don't believe in a infallible hierarchy in some capacity, and when I say infallible hierarchy, I mean, limited to, you know, the way the Pope is limited in his declarations of infallibility.
Mm-hmm.
If you like, why wouldn't that actually just prove the non-denominational or Baptists or Presbyterians? Wouldn't that just prove them right?
Wait. I'm sorry. Repeat your question again. I
So
spaced for a moment.
basically, so like your point about the Reformation was that if there is an infallible hierarchy,
Mm-hmm.
then the Reformation would be wrong. So, and if you don't believe in an infallible hierarchy, what makes Lutheranism, the hierarchy of Lutheranism, worth following? And why wouldn't you just fall into the camp of Baptists or non-denominational or Presbyterians? Wouldn't that just validate their points about sort of a less I don't know, less centralized uh, authority?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I think that with um, yeah. I mean, these are real. Yeah. I mean, those are legitimate questions, and I actually don't really have like a well thought out answer to it. I mean, I'm just going to be honest. These are things um, that I'm trying to figure out, and I'm trying to stay humble and everything. Um, and yeah, I'm afraid. I'm not afraid to say I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's just
Um,
it's just a hard question uh, to deal with, and of course, authority is such a hard thing in American culture to begin with.
mhm.
We don't deal well with authority because really our whole country is based in opposition to legitimate authority.
Rebelling.
Yeah, yeah, that's
and
true.
that and that's very much like the antithesis of uh, Christianity as well as just order in general. Now,
Mhm.
going back to sort of orthodoxy as well, we're talking about uh, sort of there, so they don't have the same structure. They're much looser in their connections with each other. I mean, the like you'd if you became Orthodox, you'd have to decide which Orthodox camp you would fall into. Like the Russians are now in schism with the Greeks. The Orientals have been in schism, I believe, since Chalcedon,
Mhm.
and that general mentality of, as well as ethnic focused churches, which on the surface there's nothing inherently wrong with an ethnic centric church. It just has to be within a universal church, which is why there's there was the Gallic rite and the Sarum rite, and of course, there could be an argument for bringing back those rites to create this a more a more diverse like way of worship insofar as it's rightly ordered. So if the English want to worship a little differently than the French, and the French want to worship a little different than the Italians, there's nothing inherently wrong about that. But there has to be some connection to a universal head, at least from my perspective. And I really I don't think the ecumenical patriarch has that capacity.
Where's
Yeah.
the communion? Like, where's the common? I get the communion, not meaning communion in the Eucharist, but like, where do they all connect? Like, at a certain point, or they all
Yeah,
just displets and just disconnected. Like, you're not supposed to be all just split off in different directions and disconnected. There needs to be a connection somewhere.
That they may be one, fathers, you and I are one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Orthodox are interesting. So, I mean, the Orthodox operates in an autocephaly structure. So, all their different churches are basically operate in separate from the other ones in terms of and what's actually what's even more funny about the Orthodox is that they don't even have an agreed upon Old Testament canon either.
Well, I'm not sure exactly that's true. I just think that there's the Orientals that disagree with the Orthodox.
So one thing I'd like to ask, Crusader, what differentiates Orthodox communions from Anglicanism or Episcopalianism? Because that was basically founded upon keeping the same Catholic structure, but with the local political head being the leader.
Well, I can I just guess what Supreme Crusader would say? I want to see if you. I know you have considered Anglicanism.
Yeah.
I assume that it would be the ordination of women, and as well as the fact that the connection between the bishops, like sort of the apostolic succession, really isn't there. That's what I would guess you'd say, Supreme Crusader. What is that accurate?
Yeah, that would be a big reason why. Yeah. So I think, and I actually haven't really even looked too much into Anglicanism in terms of like their history to really make like a judgment yet, anyways. But at the very least, like between the three, at least Catholicism and Orthodoxy have maintained stayed true to a more common heritage than the Anglican has.
Well, yeah, I mean so with you being a Lutheran, you look at Lutheranism and you see the the sort of beliefs of Martin Luther put out, and that is, I would assume that's still the main body of belief of Lutherans, right?
Yeah.
But the person who founded the Anglican Church, at least started, was Henry VIII, and all his the majority of his practices and beliefs that he put forward were immediately done away with. Just right at like one king down the line. Like they could not maintain an orthodox belief system past the lifetime of one king. I mean, at least the Pope and even the patriarchs of Constantinople have managed to, and even the Lutherans, like probably at least maybe half of them. I don't know what percentage of Lutherans, but there's at least structures that have maintained the original beliefs of those the founders.
Yeah, with Anglicanism, like I do know that they have claimed that that technically their lineage would go back to the Church of England, which they would say that the Church of England, at the very least, was have existed since at least the 3rd century, and that they weren't even in communion with Rome at the time. So um, so I guess like if they were to say that, yeah, officially, yeah, it may have started with Henry VIII, but the actual lineage would go back, to the Church of England, like over 1,000 years earlier.
But then
Um,
did it just disappear under from Augustine of Canterbury? Like, so if there was this Church of England, which I don't really believe, there's a lot of people have said this about the Irish Church as well, that like the Irish Church wasn't actually Catholic, and I think that's just the same shoddy sort of intellectual archaeologists that created the Novus Ordo. It's the same sort of mentality. It's just like you're viewing it all from a very different lens, and then you're saying this is retroactively what it is, in my head. But nobody would have seen that at the time that they were alive.
mhm.
Like,
What?
because I mean, Patrick brought Christianity to Ireland, and he was a Roman Briton who was under would have been in communion with Rome. And then even if I mean, even if you would say that the Church of England started way back when, but then like a couple hundred years later, Augustine of Canterbury brings things back to uh, Rome, and then squashes any sense of independence of the Church in England. Can you really have like a like like why do all Protestants need this giant gap of history where they didn't exist to then prove that they existed back really in a very early time? And that's like that's my concern with the mentality of going back and saying this is when the Church of England started, when no, when like Henry VIII wouldn't have said there was much difference in the Church of England back in the day, and it was more like the Church in England, not of England.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, and I would say that I would say that I would say that I wouldn't that the reformers didn't see themselves as like they didn't they didn't see that the entire church throughout history was false. From my understanding, they just saw that that the church just simply fell into error, briefly during the medieval era, and it was just simply, trying to correct it. I mean,
They
that's my
like
understanding.
overcorrected though. I mean, like they
But
just
isn't falling into error basically the what Jesus says won't happen? Like,
gates of hell will not prevail.
like how did hell prevail during medieval times? Like that, to me, that's what it sounds like. It sounds like there wasn't the medieval church. Like, how can you have a hierarchy that comes from that and then is still legitimate? That's kind of what I mean by, like, you have these two hierarchies, the Lutheran one and the Anglican one, and then you take the corrupt, quote unquote corrupt Catholic Church hierarchy. You then just reshape it a little bit, remove the Pope, and then you say, okay, this is now the valid church that has the authority to deal with these issues. That's why it seems like, to me, it makes more sense, given this logic, that you have to be uh, some sort of non-denominational or Baptist or Presbyterian, because they're like, I don't think there's a consistent way to get from a early church, which then went through all of the Roman reforms, which was not in the medieval period. That happened under Gregory the Great in what people would probably consider the Dark Ages, which is really a big dispute. Which I even think the only people like the Dark Ages is literally like at most like maybe 200 years. Like it's not that long. That's just a misconception. At most, it's between the fall of Rome, and then you get to the Carolingian Renaissance, which is basically the revival of all the different texts that that they can find that the monks put back in, or that they translate, and then that that brings about a renaissance of literature and reading and such, which ironically was started by an illiterate king. A literate emperor brought about a renaissance. Talk about being able to do something pretty crazy, not even within your own means. But yeah, so that's my concern, is like there's like historically speaking, there's such a long stretch between where they would say, like where you would have to say the church went wrong, and then where the church was being reformed.
And Crusader, don't feel like you have to answer for everyone, but I'm really curious to hear just your perspective.
Well, yeah, I actually I don't care necessarily about all we care about is you. We don't care about you can't really answer for everyone. That's impossible.
Yeah, no, I mean, I mean, like, you guys bring up a lot of great points, and it's a lot to thought about, but I don't know. I can only just say that I'm still looking and trying to figure out these answers too. I mean,
why Lutheranism? Why did you go with Lutheranism as opposed to
Calvinism?
Yeah, or like just any other denomination or denomination, just like any other form of Christianity. Like, why Lutheranism? And do you believe that everyone should be Lutheran? Yeah, I can't talk anymore. Do you believe everyone should be a Lutheran? Like, do you believe that Lutheranism is the fullness of truth for everyone? Or is it just like you like it because it kind of fits you? Like, where do you see that? Like, where does truth fit into all this? Like, is Lutheranism the fullness of truth?
Well, I was drawn to it just because I was looking for something, more traditional in the liturgy, and that's what I found, compared to what I was. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
No, I'm right there with you. Like I did a religious studies minor in college, and we were supposed to go for our Christianity class to an Orthodox service or an Orthodox liturgy, some form of Protestant service, and a Catholic mass. And I was Catholic at the time. I'd been raised non-denominational Protestant, so I decided to go to something a bit more traditional within Protestantism, and it freaked me out how much the Lutheran liturgy looked just like what I was going to every Sunday. Like, I was like, what the heck is going on? This isn't Protestantism.
Yeah.
Oh, actually.
Well, that's the thing, though, because,
actually kind of is Protestantism.
No. Yeah. I get you, Margo.
Well, the thing
is just looks, not the.
Yes.
It can't be is, Margo.
Well, it's not is, but like no, so it was designed to.
It's mirroring.
Yeah. All right, Crusader, I'm going to let you finish, but I do just have to say, go Pack, go. Unfortunately, I do need to duck out. I really appreciate you having me on, Connor. Margo, you've been a champ handling all the puns.
Go away, Jeff.
Thank you for inviting me on so that I could troll Margo a bit. I'm really excited to listen to the rest of this and hear some of your answers. Thank you guys very much.
Good night, Jeff.
Love talking to you. Thanks for coming on.
Later,
Bye.
Jeff.
Okay.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
So,
Why Lutherans? Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, at
what?
the time, like, yeah, I mean, I was drawn to something, um, more of a traditional liturgy, and that's what I found in it. I mean, like I said, I think I may have mentioned this in the last time I was on here. It was a it was a combination of a number of things. It was the fact that the uh the the worship just felt superficial, and also there was something that that happened. I'm not going to go into details, but something that happened in that particular church that was that was a scandal, and I left. And so and so um at the time I wasn't really thinking about questions like, what is the true church and all that stuff. Um I just uh at the time I was looking for something where I could uh find a deeper connection with God. And I went to several, and the Lutheran one just happened to be the one that I actually uh, that I actually felt was actually more like actual worship than just a bunch of feelings, right? And then uh, and then around that time was I have a friend who lives in Scotland who I may have mentioned. Now she is a devout Catholic, and she was actually the first one to challenge me in a lot of my beliefs. This was a few years ago, and so and so she showed me a whole bunch of like apologetic stuff. Like she showed me like Steve Ray and Tim Staples and all that stuff. And it got me thinking, how a lot of the arguments for Catholicism really did make sense. So I started to look, um, so I started looking, more deeply into it for a time, but then I kind of fell off that searching, uh, like, routine, because of just personal things in my life. Um, and then, and then recently I just started to delve back into it.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah.
if,
So
I'd love to. I wonder if I could get I could probably get Byzantine Scotus on to talk to you a little bit about Orthodoxy, because he was an Orthodox, and now he's Eastern Catholic. But maybe you'd be interested in talking to him a little bit about sort of the sort of exploring his experience with Orthodoxy as well.
I still want to know, is should everyone be Lutheran? Because like one of the things that Catholics believe is like that Catholicism is the fullness of truth, and that's like why, I mean, I have my tagline "Be Catholic" and all that, and I say it kind of half jokingly on Twitter and stuff all the time, but
No,
also
you
I'm
truly
saying,
mean it.
well, I do truly mean it
It's
because
just a she
we
means
truly
it's more
believe
like a meme.
it's a meme, but it's
that he
also
does it.
meant to be serious because Catholicism is truth.
Yeah.
Period. Like it's not something that it fits me well, or it suits me. A lot of times it doesn't suit me. A lot of times I am like, God, I don't like this rule. I don't like this. I don't like that about Catholicism. I don't like the corruption. I don't like this. I don't like that. But I stay within Catholicism because it is truth, and I want to know if that's what you believe about Lutheranism. Do you believe that Lutheranism is the fullness of truth? Do you believe that every person should be Lutheran, or just as long as you like? I know you're not one of those people who believes that just as long as you believe in Jesus, you're fine. But where do you see that? Like, do you see Lutheranism as that fullness of truth?
Or are you just I'll add to that, or are you just still just trying to find your place?
Well, I think that as somebody who is, part of a particular church, I think by default, yeah, I mean, I would like everyone to be. So, to answer your question, yes. But at the same time, um, I'm in a period where I'm questioning whether or not Lutheranism is right. So yes and no.
Yeah. Would you be interested in talking with Byzantine Scotus about his experience with Orthodoxy, and maybe you can ask him questions about it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in talking to him. I'm not really sure. I don't know if you know, not really sure I'd do it in the form of like a stream, but
That'd be fine, probably
just to,
too.
I mean, maybe talk privately, sure.
Sure. Okay. Now, Margo, do you have any other questions?
Oh, I mean, I have 100 different questions. I could go all night here, Connor. You know me, I'm a night owl. I'm just getting started. Like, how much longer do you want the stream to go? We can go for another, like, 3 hours, and let's, go all the way to midnight. And for Supreme, I mean, for him, it's still early. I mean, he's on the West Coast, so I mean, like, for him, it's only, like, what, almost 8 o'clock or something? So, I mean...
Well, it's more a question of, is Supreme, are you tired of this manner of speaking, or are you
Catholic yet?
Are you still would you still like to continue down the Margo's path, or would you like no big deal if you want to either move away from this topic, or
I mean, I'm fine with staying, but I would just like to run from the fifth degree,
Well, I hope
Be Catholic.
I hope you just see that we really care, and
yes.
I'm just following my logic. That's just my mentality.
I want everyone to experience the sacraments too. Like, I know that Lutherans, like, they have communion and stuff, but I want people to experience, like, Eucharistic adoration, and I want people to experience the joy and the peace that comes from sitting in the, like, adoring the most blessed Eucharist, of going to confession, of of worshiping Mary. Not really. That's, you always like to tease us about worshiping Mary, but like about honoring Mary and having Mary as our mother. And
I don't tease. I tease about worshiping relics.
Oh, worshiping relics. Okay,
I don't say worshiping relics because that's everyone says that.
Well, I mean, it's the word worship has been kind of it has changed over time, like that meaning. So it previously was used in the context of Mary, but not in the same way, of course. What are the two, Margaret? Do you know what the two different kinds of is it
Latria,
dulia, hypodulia? But don't ask me which one is which, because I always get them confused.
No, hyperdulia is for Mary. Dulia is for the saints. So saints is minor worship. Mary is medium worship. Latria is ultimate worship. Not really, but
But I love Supreme Crusader explaining Catholicism to us.
Well, technically, I think there is a proto-dulia for Joseph, but I don't think that's really. I don't know. Some people use that. I don't really know if
proto means first. So, anyways, but yeah. Okay.
But any case, I mean, go ahead.
Well, first of all, as we wrap up this part of the conversation, has our sort of line of questioning influenced at all what you're going to be looking into as we or as you continue exploring different parts of Christianity?
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of stuff that you guys have brought up, like, I mean, I'm aware of those. I mean, I'm aware of those questions. I think like ultimately what it comes down to is to save, to kind of save a lot of time, I guess you could say. A lot of what I am focused on most is really looking into whether the papacy is true or not, because that question in of itself
you up here on the spot
will basically render every other issue null, because if it is true, then Catholicism is true. If it's not,
you should read St. John Fisher's arguments on the papacy, because the funny thing about like Margo mentioned St. Thomas More. The funny thing about St. Thomas More is he took he took the position probably you might have when he was younger, and actually when he was working for Henry VIII, that basically the his view at that time I think was basically that it was an institution, but not a divine institution, divinely ordained institution, so that it wasn't necessary. But he was convinced by St. John Fisher of its necessity and its
What
yeah.
was the work called?
Let me do a quick looking it up. While I'm looking up that, did you guys see that arrest that took place in England of that autistic girl?
No.
Oh no.
What? Neither of you have?
I'm a little behind on my Daily Wire shows. I'm still trying to catch up on the past like 2 days.
So basically, she was like this teenage girl who has autism was arrested for calling a cop a lesbian.
Oh no, I did hear about that. I didn't actually like read the actual article and all the details. I just saw like the headline.
And basically, because of all the outrage about it, because basically it was pretty brutal. The footage was pretty brutal. 16-year-old girl was arrested under the suspicion of a homophobic public order offense.
Oh my gosh!
Isn't that utterly ridiculous?
Well, I'm actually not surprised. I mean, like, this is where we're at. You know, I know that this isn't. In California, I don't know if like they actually instituted it, but they were, they were pushing for pronoun laws.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I think that was also in Michigan. Is that isn't that true? That happened in Michigan?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not.
Margo, did you hear that?
No, I'm still catching up on the news.
That was a long time ago.
Okay. I don't know.
Anyways, it's just wild. Also, like, it's just funny because it's like, the person was, this autistic girl called this woman a lesbian, and her her haircut says it all, in my opinion. Let me see if I can pull it up. Let's see. I gotta share screen. Anyways, this is what it look.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, wait. So the girl that was arrested called the cop a lesbian?
Yes.
Well, she am.
I mean,
I just first of all, I didn't know lesbian was an offensive word. Like that's like, isn't that just used by like the I don't know, by the organizations? So now it's like
you're not allowed to call people lesbians. That's offensive.
Yeah,
wait, so it's bad to be lesbian? Is that
well,
what
that's the question? Like, is basically is it homophobic because it's actually they consider it bad to be a lesbian? Like what the heck? Like, it just seems like this lady's feelings were hurt.
Well, of course, it's all about feelings. That's what it comes down with the left. It's all about feelings, and it's just, if you hurt my feelings, you're a terrible person, and we're gonna lock you up. Because everything's about feelings.
Yeah, and then she went absolutely psychotic.
Well, of course.
And dragged this girl out of her house. This guy's right. This image is going to be memed.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Anyways, I'll ask. I'm going to ask Ryan Grant about the book, about John Fisher's book on the papacy, because he would be the one who would know best. It's always hard to find these old books by really old people. But anyway, so I will get to that to you, Supreme Crusader, at some point. But yeah, no, this whole situation is just let's see, the reaction by like the police. So this is their response in relation to an incident in Leeds on Monday, where a 16-year-old girl was arrested on suspicion of a homophobic public order offense. West Yorkshire Police has now reviewed the evidence and made the decision to take no further action. This concludes the criminal investigation and immediately releases the girl from her bail. It's just so ridiculous.
Well, I'm actually not surprised that this happened in the UK, because, I mean, a couple months ago there was a woman who was arrested for praying.
Oh yeah. I know all about that one. That's the woman who was just literally, like, she wasn't even praying out loud or anything. She was literally standing on the sidewalk.
That's literal thought crime.
Little thought police, because she was literally just thinking, like, the prayers and stuff. She wasn't, like, verbalizing them. She wasn't even, like, praying them silently, but, like, with her lips moving. I think she was literally just sitting there, like, that. She was literally like this.
Well,
and they arrested her just for being still. Like, she wasn't talking. She wasn't like verbalizing anything. She was just standing there, and they arrested her. I'm like, I don't even know what to say at this point.
Well, this also has been a thing in English history. The first person to be basically sentenced to death for praying for prayer was St. Philip Howard. He was sentenced to death for praying that the Spanish Armada would win.
Oh wow.
Which you have no proof that he prayed that the Spanish Armada would have won.
You can't prove silent prayer.
Exactly. Like, he didn't say it out loud, and he denied praying for it.
That doesn't even, like, make sense.
But that, that's the thing. That's like, in these types of situations, you have to sort of when the government wants to be this tyrannical, it has to basically accuse you of something that there's no way you can possibly defend yourself.
Right.
So like the crime we're talking about, or that just happened, is pretty much obviously defense. Like, you can obviously defend yourself, but praying, silently praying in front of an abortion clinic, how can you prove that you weren't praying?
But you can't prove, they can't prove that she was praying.
Or why would that even why would that make any effect in your really screwed up materialistic world anyways?
Yeah, because, I mean, from their perspective, prayer doesn't do anything anyway, so what's, like, the problem with it? In their minds, prayer doesn't do anything, because they don't believe in God, like, so they would think that prayer is just ultimately meaningless. So if they're proving too much, they're actually proving that prayer is effective, because if it wasn't, they wouldn't be afraid of it. They would just be like, okay, well, whatever, like, you go talk to your imaginary God. But they'll almost saying that prayer is effective, because they are obviously afraid of the power of prayer. So
Yeah, it's just bizarre. I mean, it really comes down to they want certain people in prison, or
of
you know,
course. They just want to get all the Christians round. They just
it's
want to round us up and just throw us in the gulags and get rid of us because we're annoying and we're the ones who are saying, no, you can't have abortion, no, you can't do this or whatever, and they don't like that. They want to be able to do whatever they want, and they want us to just go away, but we won't.
apparently Christine was in the live chat for a short period of time, but didn't comment.
Yes, I saw that.
In response to, I loved your Supreme Crusader. I loved your suggestion that the plagues of Egypt will destroy your crops and cattle forever if you don't watch this stream.
Oh yeah. This is how my sense of humor is.
Yeah, your threats are my favorite sense of humor on
I love the threats. They're so good.
they're the funniest sense of humor. Anyways, it's great.
So fun.
Yeah. Now, anyway, so that's just the state we're in. Now, it's been 2 hours and 40 minutes. I think this.
I want to beat Matt Brad's record. I think like Matt Brad and Seamus Coughlin have like the world record of live streams. Like they went like 6 hours or something a few months ago.
I want to do that with Seamus or Michael Knowles. I want to beat their record. So Seamus or Michael Knowles, if you're listening to this, I want to beat Matt Frad's record with either of you or both.
Wait, could I be on the stream too with Michael and Seamus? Can we Michael, Seamus, and Margo?
Yep.
That would just be like amazing. That would just be so epic.
If you want to do that, that would be perfectly fine. You might have to sit silently for a good portion.
Wait, silently? I don't know what the silently thing is. I don't know how to be silent except if I'm in Eucharistic adoration, and then even then sometimes I have trouble being silent. So I don't really know what the silence is. You're gonna have to explain it to me.
Well, I can just mute your mic.
Wait, what? You can do that?
Yeah.
Oh no!
Well, that just shows that I haven't muted your mic the entire time.
You're so nice. So, you're so nice, Connor.
I'm not tyrannical at all. I'm not like the UK police in this situation.
You're not like me when I'm a moderator and chats and other places where I'm just kicking people out and putting people in timeout.
Well, Margo, if you and maybe isn't who is it? Terry Lynn? Isn't she also a bit?
She's a Seamus fan, and yeah, she likes Freedom Tunes, and she might, I probably shouldn't say, but she might have some connections there.
Well, if either of you guys could help make that happen, I think it would be a lot of fun. Anyways,
absolutely.
Also, the Jeremy Boring episode would be a lot of fun.
Oh gosh, yes! Once he can stop promoting Pendragon, next year it's gonna be so much fun when he can finally stop actually promoting it when he's done filming it and they're getting ready to release it. Yeah, it's gonna be a good time.
Anyways, yes. So that was. But yeah, I would love to have Jeremy Boring on to discuss that show when it comes out. I just want it to be good. I want a really good piece of entertainment that
absolutely
can just take over the pop culture, arena.
Also, I can definitely get you probably the Master of the Ages guys. Obviously, two of them were in the chat tonight. Thanks to Dan and Jake for being in the chat for a while. But I can definitely get you some Master of the Ages guys, or just myself once we have more things coming out. We are going to have a lot more content coming out very soon. We're looking to get episode 1 re-released as soon as we can. Get the director's cut is what we're calling it. So episode 1 will be available in the next few months again. And then episode 3 is coming. We promise episode 3 is coming next year. Like, it's been a long time, but
I'm not sure I believe you.
No, I know. But we wrapped filming. Cameron and Dan were in Europe. Were in England and France back in July. They finished filming episode 3, so all the filming is done. Filming for episode 3 is completely finished. Now it's just a long editing process, and we're a small organization, so we only have like Cameron and one other editor laboring diligently over all the scenes. And right now the the current runtime is an hour and a half right now, so it's the longest episode that we have.
Sounds short to me.
Short. Well, I mean, episode 1 was 45 minutes, and I think episode 2 was
Sounds really short to me.
Episode 2 was like an hour, like 80 minutes, I think, maybe, or like 80 minutes.
Well, Michael Knowles was he in the second? Yeah, Michael.
Yeah,
Knowles
Michael was in 2, and he'll be in 3 as well. And then we have a lot of other surprising content coming soon in the next few months. Those other projects that we have in the works that we can't wait to announce. And so if people want, but what we need from people is definitely need prayers. First and foremost, we need prayers for spiritual protection, because we always have there's always spiritual attacks. Satan definitely does not want these films getting out. He does not want the Latin Mass to be promoted or anything. So we're always, fighting off Satan. So please pray for us. Please pray for the team. And then also, if you guys are feeling generous enough, we definitely will appreciate all donations, especially monthly donations. We're starting a monthly giving society with a lot of cool perks. We have a Telegram chat that Cameron and myself and Dan and other people from the team are in, and with behind the scenes pictures. We have monthly live streams with Cameron. We're going to be releasing really soon, probably hopefully next week. We're going to start releasing full interviews of all the people you've seen in episodes 1 and 2. We're going to have those full uncut interviews. So when you watch episode 1 and 2, you only see bits and pieces of people's interviews. We have the full interviews that we're going to be releasing very soon. It's the full interview with Peter Kuzniewski, Eric Sammons, Michael Knowles, Taylor Marshall, and so on. I'm trying to think who else. Who was
Father Dave Nix.
Yeah, Father Dave Nix. I'm trying to think of Father Joshua from the Canons, regular St. John Cantius. We have a whole bunch. Dr. Michael Foley. A whole bunch of uncut interviews. Those are going to be available for the monthly supporters as well. I think we're going to have them available for purchase as well. So we have a lot of stuff coming, but please, we need money to be able to keep going. So go to latinmass.com/donate if you'd like to donate. Otherwise, please keep us in your prayers.
Yes, thank you. We all pray for the Mass of the Ages, but also just pray for, please. I just ask for prayers for all of us, individually. And it seems like people want to see you back, a Supreme Crusader, in the future on more episodes. Let me know in the chat if you want more Margo and Supreme Crusader episodes.
Do you want more Margo, or should Margo just go away and just shut up? I don't know.
Both. If you want both, just let me know in the chat. I want to know. Short Farrell's calling me Connor the Benevolent. I don't really know why, but I appreciate it. Anyway, so please like, share, comment, and subscribe. The more you do that, the more you support the channel, the more you share the videos, the more the channel gets to grow, the more awesome guests I'm able to get, because I can get the attention of more people that, basically by you subscribing or by you watching and liking, you're basically saying that you appreciate this content, and other people will take notice of that if it gets to a sizable number. Supreme Crusader, I hope you enjoyed being on this episode. I hope we didn't grill you too much.
Be Catholic.
That's all right.
I had to get that in. I had to get in my tagline.
I was just a little intimidated. That's all, but it's all right.
Well,
I knew it. I'm intimidating. I knew it.
No, it's probably me, not you, Margo.
The guy with no arms. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Oh
I'm so
my
sorry.
gosh.
I'm so sorry, Connor. I love you.
Margo.
I'm gonna turn that into a short.
Make it a GIF.
You know I love you, Connor.
Margo gets canceled. I'm gonna send this to Michael Knowles.
Please, Michael, have him on. He doesn't have
Oh my God.
arms. Take pity on Connor. He doesn't have arms.
No, I meant just like, he's going to cancel you, or Matt Walsh will.
Matt Walsh, I'm daily canceled. I've always wanted to be canceled by Matt Walsh. It's my dream in life to be canceled by Matt Walsh. It would be such an honor for me.
To get canceled by
Yeah.
Matt.
That'd
Okay.
be such an honor. It would be my dream come true.
Well, if you saying that will make him not want to cancel you, probably.
Dang it.
You always gotta, outfox him. You gotta say the opposite.
Okay, I don't want to be canceled, Matt Walsh. Whatever you do not cancel me, please. Have pity on me. Do not cancel me, Matt Walsh. Please don't do it. I would hate for you to do it. Please, don't.
I really appreciate just all the viewers tonight, and people. We still have 7 people watching. That's people are sticking with us, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you. If there was anyone who actually watched for almost 3 hours, God bless you, and I hope you get at least some of that time off purgatory.
Also, well, yeah, it's definitely. I mean, it will definitely get you off time purgatory. Anyway, so Margo, thank you for coming on. It's always a pleasure talking with you. And now, have you been on Plotlines more than you've been on Avoiding Babylon?
I've been on Avoiding Babylon, I think 3 times. I was on Trivia twice, and I was on one other time, just on a discussion show. So I think I've been on them 3, and with you, what is this, my 2nd or 3rd time? So it might be a tie.
Okay, well, we gotta fix that.
Yes, I need to go on Avoiding Babylon more. You're right. I need to up my game and go on their channel more times.
Father, I appreciate you watching. It would have been great to meet you at the conference.
Yeah, I was always sorry, Father. It was probably me who was always around Connor because I was running around helping him with his podcast.
Well, I'm very focused. I'm laser focused in conferences. Like, if I'm going to an event, I need to get a lot of podcasts done and meet a lot of people, and I'm laser focused. And then
you're fast. You're fast in that wheelchair. Like, I was very surprised, like, at how much you can just like zoom around and stuff. I'm like, oh my god, I was trying to keep up with you. I could not keep up.
Oh, Margo. But yeah. Anyways, thank you all for watching. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And God bless. Thank you all.
Good night.